Hello, welcome back to the James Rambling Reviews for yet another episode. In today's episode, this is going to be a different kind of review because I'm going to be reviewing Shaun of the Dead for its 20th year anniversary, and I will actually kind of spoil stuff about this movie. So if you haven't seen the film, what are you doing? Go and watch it right now. It will still be in cinemas, but it's not going to. I don't think the movie's going to be out for ages because it's a limited release. It's only the 20th anniversary. So if you haven't seen it, I recommend you go and watch it before you watch this review. So there's that. So I'm going to give you a bit of context here before I get into how I feel about the movie. We'll give it a 10, stuff like that. My regular formula, obviously. So Shaun of the Dead is a movie that I've never reviewed on this channel, and also it's a movie that I absolutely love the movie to the point where I'm not giving myself any time to process it after I've watched it in the cinema, because every time I watch this, really do enjoy it, and I'm going to explain why I think that later on in this video. So there's that, and I'm also thinking maybe I could actually review the Cornetto trilogy as a whole. So what I mean by this is that in Shaun of the Dead, and there's also Hot Fuzz and The World's End, they have this kind of established thing where they all have cornettos in it, and it's like a British ice cream that was very, very popular, and I would say that a lot of people in Britain just love that type of ice cream, and so you get to see that in the movie, and you'll know what I'm talking about when you actually watch the films even. So there's that, and I'll just say that about them, that they're just pretty much three different movies, three different genres, but the only similarity is actually the comedy, the actors, and some of the actors are actually familiar in some of the movies, and so there's definitely that. So I'll try not to go off topic and talk about Hot Fuzz and World's End. So Shaun of the Dead, right, it's actually a movie directed by Edgar Wright, and this will kind of be my cinematic experience, experiencing Shaun of the Dead for the first time in cinemas, and so there's definitely that. So what is the movie actually about, though? I'll give you the plot, and then I'll give you a rundown of a lot of my cinematic experience, and then give you my rating out of 10. So Shaun of the Dead is pretty much about this guy called Shaun, obviously, and he's this salesman, stuff like that, for this TV store, and there's definitely that, and he's kind of wondering what he should do with his life. He kind of realises that his whole girlfriend relationship thing, it doesn't actually turn out the best way that he wanted it to, because he didn't even book this thing where they were going to go to this bar and go to Winchester and get around a beer and stuff like that. So there's definitely that, but and he's got the friend Ed, and then he's got his mum to worry about, then he's got his dad to worry about. There's so much going on in his life, and he doesn't know how to kind of figure out what's going on and how to resolve everything. So what ends up happening is he goes to his friend Ed for I wouldn't say advice, but they kind of just come together and try to figure out what the heck is actually going on in this town, and then they figure out that it's a zombie apocalypse, and then they have to figure out what is going on in this town, how do we resolve all that. It's kind of like that, and it's going on for about an hour and a half, and it flies by kind of thing. So there's that. So my cinematic experience with this movie was awesome. This is probably one of the best movies to watch in the cinema, because I recorded this movie review a few times, and I never mentioned this aspect that the crowd was absolutely howling with laughter. Everybody loved the movie. And it does kind of harken back to the times where I go to these comedy events and a lot of people are laughing behind me, but when it's a really funny movie and people are laughing with you, it's really good. Especially when I went to see Deadpool and Wolverine, the crowd was laughing a lot, and see when you match the same volume of laughter with crowds, it's absolutely satisfying. So that was very, very good about it. And also, the sound and how it all projected onto the screen was amazing. I also had a bit of beer. Well, I say a bit of beer. I had a San Miguel, which is this beer. That was pretty cool. I enjoy beer and lager every now and again. So there's that. And then I had 2 Cornettos, and I really did enjoy those. That was a part of my experience because it's a part of the Cornetto trilogy. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to take part in this established lore, this established universe of the Cornetto multiverse, or whatever. Not Cornetto multiverse, but just this established idea that there was the whole connection between the Cornetto ice cream in every single movie. And so there's definitely that about it, and the popcorn was alright, but I did prefer the Cornetto because it's been a while, so it's been ages since I had a Cornetto, and I just felt like a little kid again because I loved Cornettos as a kid. So there's those aspects. So to get on to the film itself, this movie actually introduced kind of like a kind of introductory message from Edgar Wright himself, where he's like, I hope you guys enjoy this movie. Oh, I'm glad you guys are coming along for the ride for the 20th year anniversary, and that was pretty cool. And then the movie, I'm not going to talk about like from beginning to end what happens in the movie, but what actually really works about this movie is absolutely like the comedy, the acting, and the soundtrack. Like, I mean, those are the most basic things ever. But the comedy, the action, all of that, like, I would say it's an action movie, but there is a lot of dialogue. So, like, what I really do enjoy is how Edgar Wright manages to time the jokes well enough that when one joke happens, the next joke happens, it all kind of flows into one. So it's not just like, oh, the jokes are boring and uninteresting. Like, they use a lot of British humour, and so, like, what I mean by that is that they talk, like, a lot of British people, they talk as if they hate people, we hate you, but it's really just a way to, like, it's just the way British people are. They're like, oh, we hate you because the British people are miserable with the weather and the politics, so they use the humour as a reason to feel better about themselves, and then they'll use humour against people as if, oh, we hate them. But they use it in a funny way. So for example, so I'm just not kind of repeating myself and being vague about it, like, they would say something like, Ed's, Shaun's friend Ed, who plays by Nick Frost, right? You've got Liz who's his, like, love interest, and then you've got Shaun, and then you've got Ed, who's like gay kind of thing. It's like, oh, it's kind of funny because it's kind of like this banter between the characters, and then you get to see how it plays out, kind of thing. That's kind of cool. And then a lot of the jokes are really funny. And another thing that I forgot to mention about this movie is the soundtrack, because you've got stuff like Queen in this movie. It's like, we're having such a good time, don't stop me now, all that stuff. Like, that's amazing. So there's a lot to say there, where it's like the soundtrack's good, the acting is good, because the actors actually care about what they're doing. Because see, if the acting was horrible, the jokes wouldn't land as much and it wouldn't make any sense. So there's that, and the fact that there's also a lot of points where they use a lot of the environment. So they would pick up these things around them and then they would use it in the movie. And so I suppose that's the charm of the Cornetto ice cream, is that it's just like this thing that it isn't CGI or anything. Like, it's an actual thing where they actually got it physically and you got to see it. So there's a lot to say there, and it's really well timed, really well paced. The crowd was laughing, all that. There's all of that stuff, right? So that's my review. This is the best way I could do it. So out of 10, we're going to give this a solid 10 out of 10, because the cinema experience uplifts that experience with the crowd laughter, and I already enjoyed this movie. And the fact that, I did enjoy the Terminator, like, 40-year anniversary screening, but I did prefer this more because I'm obviously in the UK, and obviously, it's a British movie, so it felt a bit more like it was hitting close to home. So that aspect alone felt like, it was a bit more of a better experience and stuff like that. And my mum was actually a lot more involved. Like, she was kind of like laughing along, and my dad was just kind of sitting there while I was watching the Terminator. So there's a lot there where, there's a bit of contrast between the Terminator, like, screening and this screening because of the anniversaries. So there's a lot to talk about. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this review. This will be a bit more of a longer review, and this is probably the best you'll ever get for this stuff. So don't stop me now, because I really enjoyed Shaun of the Dead. Bye bye.